Hello, this is Peter Boyle of the Taney Tower in Dublin, and I'm going to spend a little time. I'm looking forward to introducing you to the use of the bob in playing bob doubles, and I hope you may find this of some help. Now, here I've written out for you the first several lines of plain bob doubles. Doubles, of course, means 5 bells. And you'll notice, as is the case when you write out all methods, you'll notice that it's divided into these sections by these horizontal lines. And these lines are not written in any old place. You'll notice that each section finishes with the 2 lines where the treble is leading. Again, here in the second section it finishes with the 2 lines where the treble is leading, and so every section finishes with those 2 lines. And next, these sections are not called sections. In bell ringing there's a technical term for them. Each section is called a lead. Now here I'm going to write out for you, or draw for you, the blue line for bell 2. And we can use this blue line to find out what the first piece of work is for bell 2. You see down here you've started to go down to the front, but instead of going to the front you dodge back here to the 4 position. So this is a 3-4 dodge, and because we're going down, it's a 3-4 down dodge. Now I want you to imagine that you're in the tower and you're ringing away happily, but when you get to this line, the conductor calls out bob. This is a very special line. It's the line where the treble is in the second place just before it comes into lead. And when the conductor calls out bob, he's telling you to do something. When bob is called, you don't do the 3-4 down, you do something else. You have to know what the something else is. Well, the rule tells you that, and here's the rule. If your bell was about to do a 3-4 down dodge, you don't do it. Instead of doing the dodge, you just carry on down to the front. Now, here's what we had before. Remember, we had the blue line for bell 2, showing that the first piece of work was the 3-4 down dodge there. Remember also that when you reached this line here, bob was called. The conductor shouts out bob. Next I want to write out the lines showing you what effect the bob has. Remember what the rule was. If your bell was about to do a 3-4 down, you don't do it. Instead, you carry on hunting to the lead. Some people would say you run in. Do 2 blows at the lead and then hunt up to the back. So here now is with bob. You ring, plain hunt, 2 blows at the back, start towards the front, but you don't do your dodge here. You just carry on down to the front. That's the key. You don't do your dodge, you just simply carry on down to the front, where you do 2 blows and then hunt out to the back. Now here I'm going to summarize for you the rules for bobs. Rule 1 here, this is the first one that we've already looked at. When your first piece of work is a 3-4 down, you don't do it, you just carry on hunting to the lead. There are 4 of these rules, and when bob is called, you choose which rule to use according to what your next piece of work is. Now here we're going to do the same thing but ringing bell 3. And there's a difference. What's the first piece of work done by bell 3? We can find it from the blue line. And the blue line shows us that here's the first piece of work. 2 blows in the lead, followed by 2 blows in place 2, followed by 2 more blows in the lead. And that characteristic little pattern is called making seconds. And now, over on the right hand side, we're going to see what effect bob has on that. Remember that the conductor calls bob at this line, where the treble is in the second place. What does he do? He's telling you to do something. Here's the rule. The rule is that if your bell was about to do seconds, which the bell 3 was about to do seconds, you don't do it. Instead, carry on hunting to the back. Do 2 blows at the back, and then hunt down to front. We need to do that, tracing it out on the blue line. So here we are, ringing plain hunt till we get to here. 2 blows in the front, but now instead of doing seconds, which would be this, instead of doing seconds, it's very simple. You just hunt all the way to the back, where you do 2 blows and then hunt down to the front. So now we can add rule 2 to our list. If your bell was about to make seconds, instead you carry on plain hunting to the back, do 2 blows at the back, and then hunt down to the front and make seconds. And so we come to bell 4. What's the first piece of work for bell 4? Here it is, 4 blows behind. That's called 4 blows behind. On the right hand side, we have the column showing the effect that bob has on that. Remember, the conductor calls bob here, but this is a very easy rule because there's no change. Here's the rule. If you're about to do 4 blows behind, well, do it. There's no change. You just continue on as normal. And as you can see, the blue line here on the right is exactly the same as the blue line on the left. So that was an easy one. And now we can add rule 3 to our list. If your bell was about to do 4 blows behind, there's no change. Just carry on as normal, with the next piece of work being 3/4 dodge up. Now, here we are. This is our last bell, number 5. Trace the blue line down to see what the first piece of work is. There's a dodge here, a dodge between the 3 and the 4 positions, so it's a 3/4 dodge. And since you're hunting up, it's a 3/4 up dodge. And over on the right hand side, we want to see what's the consequence of the conductor calling bob here. The consequence is that you do a second blow at the 4 position here. So let's follow that down. You get as far as here, but then instead of dodging as in the left hand column, you do a second blow in the 4th position, and then you hunt on down back to the front. Rule: if you're about to do 3/4 up, you don't do it. Instead, you remain in place 4 for 2 blows and then hunt to the front. Now we've got all our rules. We've added rule 4 to the list. Rule 4 says if your bell was about to do a 3/4 up, instead of dodging 3/4 up, you remain in the fourth place for another blow, hunt down to the lead and then hunt to the back and then do floor bows behind. Now, you may well ask, what's the point of all this bob thing? Well, I'll show you, and it's quite dramatic. Here I've written out all 4 leads of the plain bob doubles method. Since there are 10 rows in each lead, you've got 40 rows there altogether. Now, what's this? Now, written out here are all the rows you would get if you called 3 bobs. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And the effect of calling the bobs is to introduce a whole lot of new rows here that weren't there before. And each one of these rows is different. Notice one other very clever thing. You started off with rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've ended up with rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at this. Do you remember we had, when ringing plain bob doubles, we had 4 leads, each with 10 lines, so we had 40 rows in ordinary bob doubles. Here we have no less than 12 leads, sections, 12 leads, and each lead has 10 rows. So by calling 3 bobs, we've got 120 rows. We've gone from 40 rows to 120 rows. And you're supposed to be able to ring all 20 rows, all 120 rows, without looking at a grid, without having anything in front of you. You have to be able to ring all this from memory. Quite a tall order. But that's what lies ahead of you, and it's great fun. There's one final thing I haven't told you, and I'm not going to go into it now because it'll make this whole presentation too long. But I haven't told you that when you've rung the bob, what you do next, what you do in this section, when you've run that, what you do in the next section and in the next section, that I'll tell you about in part 2 of this presentation.